Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Propagandacast State of the Balance, February 2017. And what is the state of the balance here since, well, January? Well, as usual, not an awful lot has changed as such. I mean, we're still waiting for the balance patch to happen, and until then, I mean, there's not really much happening. The Allies, for example, in terms of win rates, have a slight lead over the Axis as usual, for example. So, I mean, that's rather it there. For example, for the Americans, it's still primarily captains. Again, we got some who goes for lieutenants, some who goes for lieutenant and captains. There's some who aim, for, but well, it's mostly just fast stewards, heavy cavalry, the occasional armored doctrine, the occasional tactical support. But tactical support's actually sort of less been popular as of late. I think it's been increasingly shifting towards just heavy cavalry and armor doctrine. Either it's going to be Pershings and Rangers, or it's going to be, M10 spam with bulldozer Sherman. So in that regard, the sort of lineup is in some ways slightly sort of narrowed in there. I mean, overall, once sort of the steward gets nerfed a bit, they can't just rely on that one. You just a huge swing and sort of having around that point that hits. So they'll have to consider more options. Obviously, not being that easy for them right there. So that'll probably result in more Shermans, less just M10 spam as well. Maybe at least less dominant M10 spam, since you can't utilize the steward for support either. So that should hopefully bring a bit of hope there. But beyond that, not much to say about the Americans. Again, it's largely same procedures last year. Same with the British. I mean, they've just been absolutely stuck here in mobile assault with nary a variation. There'll be the occasional Vanguard, the very rare Commando, the occasional tactical support, in which case they'll be largely relying, on artillery cover and field cover operations just for the repairs. And I mean, it'll be, strange armored cars for the most part, the occasional mortar emplacement, the occasional chap who goes for advanced emplacement and Bofors. Some go for bolted infantry sections. But overall, there's not so much there that's, again, really changing. It's primarily going to be armored cars, then it's Cromwells or Comets. And again, that got, the armored car being less dominant, it's going to, I think, do a lot there to, just force them out into different paths. Because I think the problem is just with the British, they can get away with it, so not bothering, looking for alternatives. When again, just bunch of sections into an armored car is going to work for you in like 95% of the cases. So that should do quite a thing again for the Valmont. And again, that's sort of the bigger theme there. But again, for the British, there's just not really much change. Again, it's largely been like that for at least half a year, if not more. So, I mean, hopefully the armored car will sort of force on the British metagame to expand, to grow, because right now it's just immature in a sense, and it hasn't bothered, growing because it hasn't had to. For the Soviets, shock rifle and overall shock troopers sort of became, more common in there. Also, more players using reserve armies, and that guy, the Soviets stuff still growing, though they're still also very reliant on the T-70. Again, that one being nerfed is going to be good there. But overall, for the Soviet metagame compared to the British, and even the Americans, it's still growing. There's change there. We've been seeing more players going for even for IS-2s again. I mean, in that regard, the third meta game is expanding. There's also been a huge surge in conscripts, heavy builds, and besides Maximus penal tool builds. So in that regard, the third meta game has, despite everything, actually grown. It has matured. It's trying new directions. There's more strategies there. Again, there's some that rely on just using reserve army. I'm even seeing certain players beginning to use smoke screens. So in that regard, comparing with the American and the British meta game, the third meta game has distinctly grown and matured. I think it's still awfully reliant on the T7 again. Getting that one nerfed is going to, I think, do quite a bit there. But in that regard, I'm sort of compare. There's a lot more things you have to worry about playing against the Soviets. Again, they have more options, they have more play styles, they have more strategies, which is great to see, by the way, from the perspective of a commentator, because it means, I don't have to just worry about it's going to be the same thing, like the same time over and over again, when it's with the Soviets. So, that's great. But again, in terms of balance patch, again, once the T-Zone get nerfed, I mean, it's going to probably look more, again, further balanced, because the T-Zone is really basically just a thing for the Search that can just swing the game really, really hard. It's just sheer mobility and potentially just swinging the game around thanks to its ability to just wipe infantry so easily. It's just really what makes things so tricky versus them. So once that gets nerfed, I think, again, there'll be some further changes. Then again, hopefully the maturity of the metagame up till then will sort of further strengthen them. So they probably won't be too bad off compared to the British, who will probably be rather floundering once they try to figure out what to do without the AC armoured car, so back them up. Though the British, in a sense, still need some nerfs on the infantry. I mean, they're still sort of largely bulletproof once they hit Veteran 2, which is still pretty bad. And they could probably also do with dropping off one of those Bren guns, being able to carry around there. So that, I think, would also do them quite nicely. As for sort of the German side, I mean, for the Oberkommand West, there hasn't really been much change. Again, there's sort of been an issue there. And, I mean, there's probably some things, again, further neat changing with them. I mean, it tends to be, again, a lot of Volksgrenadiers into, like, infantry guns. I mean, there's just not really much changing there. I mean, there'll be occasional one, goes for the Scrap Hunter Corps, like big use of Orbison. They have slightly caught on more. Doctrinally, again, it's very much scavenge and other elements. I mean, the part there, the issue is, I mean, the Volksgrenadiers probably need a slight nerf somewhere along the line. I think they just probably a bit too durable, to be honest. It's fine to have damage output, but I think they need to be made slightly more vulnerable. Again, they need to be forced a bit more into cover. That way, you should also punch them off and just blobbing up, which we see some players doing, but then at the same time, the Obercommanders will need more elements. And I still think they need to give them a 250.5 tracks. The Obercommander West can, do a bit better. Plus, they need access to some goddamn smoke. I mean, in that regard, the Obercommander West needs less vulnerable Volksgrenadiers because, again, they do plenty of damage, which is fine. Again, it fits in with the sort of more aggressive playstyle. But again, less durable Volksgrenadiers, I think. Also, some other elements of tactics, again, they can sort of pursue more aggressive play. But again, there are otherwise some issues there, and again, there are some things that still need to be buffed and looked at elsewhere. So it's a bit of a tricky sort of out there with the Obercommand West, but this clear heavy emphasis on Volksgrenadiers does indicate, I think, they're a bit perhaps too solid in some ways, and that could probably do with a bit of a healthy looking at, sort of further improve the Obercommander West metagame and allow it to, further mature. I mean, there's clearly a bit, I think, too heavy reliance. And obviously, again, they are lacking tools, which is not good, but I don't think we just entirely blame it on a lack of tools. I mean, clearly, again, I kind of feel like the Volksgrenadiers might need, again, just a tiny nerf. And again, it's not, to the DPS, it's just to the survivability. So again, they sort of, need to be a bit better utilized. For the Wehrmacht, again, we've seen some variations, some changes, Again, the search that wasn't towards Panthers, the German Panthers has rather fallen off. Again, Tier 4 has, not been so much in. Doctrinally, it's largely the same story. Elite armored, or elite troops. Lightning war, mechanized assault, mechanized, occasional mobile defense, but not so much else there. It's sort of solidified a bit more. We've seen, though, more machine gun bunkers, though, again, more players are utilizing those, so, try and control the battlefield more. That is good. Some players are also making more active use of mines. And, well, there's certainly more fallback to, slightly more towards Stugs and Panzer IVs. So in that regard, again, the meta game for the Wehrmacht is sort of shifting and sort of trying to respond. It's trying to evolve, but again, until they sort of think, again, sort out the fact that the Wehrmacht as a faction does not scale frightfully again, and the Wehrmacht Tier 4 has been made more useful, I think it's sort of still going to be there. I mean, again, the nerfs to the Allied Light Vehicles will be a huge boon for the Wehrmacht because they're rather the ones that struggle the most, again, due to the smaller squads, which again allows them to be heavily swung about. Then again, if they're already struggling, which isn't too uncommon, again, the Allies can, of course, further assert dominance with the AC, the T-70, or the Stuart. So again, getting that nerfed should do a lot there again for the Wehrmacht, sort of giving them a bit more room to, further do things in. So it's still, I mean, the balance patch is going to be great overall, I think, for the meta game, but I certainly think the British will be the ones probably struggling the most alongside the Americans. The Surge, I think, will probably be the ones doing their best again, part because for the meta game again, they have been evolving a lot more. So, I mean, there's some potential there, sort of, once the patch hopefully hits here, sort of around March. Certainly looking forward to that myself. But beyond that, I think that sort of covers here the state of the balance again. No huge changes since, January, but still there has been change again. I think the primary changes have very well been within the Soviet faction. Some with the Wehrmacht and slightly with the Americans. The British and the Obercommanders basically have been the ones that have changed the least. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed this match. Hope you learned something from it. Oh, well, not learned from this match, but hope you enjoyed this video. Got some ideas. If you did, subscribe, like, share, and comment on it. This is Imperial signing off, and see you all another time. Cheers.